Hello, Patreon scum. Welcome to Unleashed. This is the show where I take a few stories from the previous week and we're talking about them right here on Unleashed, the Patreon exclusive show. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. We hope you like the new content that we are throwing your way. If you haven't seen episode 117 of the Rebel Scum podcast, check that out. That's on YouTube. We also put the link here on Patreon. Before I get started, there will be a bunch of changes to the Patreon tier system going forward, so keep your eye on that. We'll be doing most likely a scavenger scum on that. You guys will see that first. You'll see some changes on the side. Don't be alarmed, there's nothing crazy. Well, it's a little crazy. It's going to be a lot more fun, let's just put it that way. So things are happening over there, but you'll see a scavenger scum. We'll also announce it on one of the upcoming podcasts, Rebel Scum podcast. I'm not sure which one. It might be 118, might be 119. I'm not 100% sure yet, but we can do that. We will send it your way. I guess there's a lot of fun things going on. But anyway, let's get to this episode of Unleashed. This one I'm really excited about because there are three really cool stories that I want to discuss. First of all, JJ Abrams uses a very clear word in saying how he wishes he hopes the fans feel after they see Star Wars Episode 9, his Star Wars, untitled as of the recording of this, Star Wars Episode 9. News about Rian Johnson's trilogy, True or False, and a third Star Wars TV show. Let's start off with that third Star Wars TV show, shall we? Because it's the one that we know absolutely nothing about. Rumors have been circulating for a while that there's an Obi-Wan television series in development. Now, if they had a script for Obi-Wan Kenobi, you'd think that maybe they could stretch that into a series as well on Disney+. And I was thinking, The Mandalorian's cool and all, and Jon Favreau, who knows how much of involvement he had in the overall story. I think he had a lot of it. But let's just say, for argument's sakes on this point, that the Mandalorian TV show does not exist if Josh Trank gets his Boba Fett standalone film. If Boba Fett film happens, maybe we do not get the Mandalorian because maybe it's too similar. Maybe, you have a character called Boba Fett running around looking like Boba Fett, and you have a character named Mandalorian running around looking like Boba Fett. You can't have both of those happening. People would get confused. Sure, you wouldn't get confused and I wouldn't get confused, but I think, maybe the not so diehard fans might get confused, and I think that's a fair assessment of the whole situation there. So that being said, what if they said, Jon Favreau said, well, you're not doing this Boba Fett film. There's a lot of cool shit in there that I would like to work with and deal with. Maybe we could put that in a separate show, call that The Mandalorian, and then he fleshes that out a little bit, makes it more of a series, comes up with some other ideas. So he uses the Boba Fett screenplay, which we know that they had because the producer, his name is escaping me now, he's doing X-Men, Dark Phoenix, Simon Kinberg. He had that script. He loved that script. So let's just say, for argument's sake, that script was decent, but it was something that they said, especially after Solo, No Dice, or even before, with the whole fiasco revolving around Solo and the Josh Trank situation, there's been a lot of fiascos here. Even Rogue One, they had to go back and reshoot a lot of Rogue One. So they gave it to Favreau, and he's like, I can stretch this out, but I want it as a series. And they said, okay. So that's a way to look at it. And if that's the case, you look at Obi-Wan Kenobi, and by all accounts, they had something going for this Obi-Wan film. It was announced, and it wasn't announced. And then, all these rumors speculating that an Obi-Wan film is coming. And you really have to kind of gather that at something that we heard was accurate. At one point, they were close to greenlighting an Obi-Wan Kenobi film, but it never quite hit. Maybe they were waiting for how Solo went. Maybe they're waiting to see how The Last Jedi came. We don't know, and I'm not here to argue one way or another, and it doesn't really matter. What matters is we're not getting an Obi-Wan Kenobi film as of right now. Tomorrow, sure, Kathleen Kennedy, Bob Iger, one of them could come out and say, hey, the Obi-Wan film is now in production, and it's being directed by Martin Scorsese. We don't know. That could happen. It won't, but it could happen. So you have that. But let's just say they had a treatment or a draft or something, and then McGregor obviously is 100% on board. Everybody knows that first of all, everybody that's ever seen a Star Wars movie or a movie in general knows of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Pop culture references have referenced him in many aspects and many different platforms. People are aware of Obi-Wan Kenobi. They're aware of Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. They're aware of Alec Guinness as Obi-Wan Kenobi. So there's a lot of different, they could play around with the character as much as they wanted. So let's say they take that treatment, they give it to a showrunner, and said showrunner then can flesh that out into a larger scale, into more episodes. Because sometimes, let's be honest, sometimes that's what it needs. Would Solo have been more interesting if we got to follow Han Solo around through an 8 to 13 episode season? Maybe. I mean, you all know how I feel about Solo. I loved it, and I'm down for a second one. That being said, I'm down for a second one. If it was a series, the second one would be the second episode and the third episode, and on and on and on. Now, this series might not be the Obi-Wan series. It could be the Kira series. It could be the Lando series. But all signs on the internet rumor board are pointing towards Obi-Wan Kenobi from what I have seen. If you have seen something else, let me know in the comments below. Cassian Andor would be a cool one. There's a lot. Look, Star Wars is such a fun sandbox to play in. They have so many different characters that they can bring to the forefront. I think it's very ballsy on Disney Plus's part to start off with The Mandalorian. I've said this before in the past. I think it's very ballsy. I think they are going a little bit on the Game of Thrones, but I think you can't make Star Wars Game of Thrones because they're very different. Game of Thrones is Game of Thrones, and Star Wars is Star Wars. So I'm curious. I'm very curious to see how this one goes. I don't think it's going to be great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I'm curious to see which way that flows. But a third series in development. Wait, what's the second series? Cassian Andor? Oh, now I'm lost. Mandalorian. It's got to be Cassian Andor. Guys, I've been drinking a lot. I'm just joking. Anyway, so a third series in development could be that one. Let's go on to the Rian Johnson trilogy now. The Rian Johnson trilogy was canceled a week and a half ago. And then a few hours after that, Rian Johnson debunked it. Then it was a G-rated film. And Rian Johnson just went on Twitter and said, stop. For the love of all things holy, stop. And now, apparently, Bantha Tracks, the podcast, I obviously don't listen to them. I'm sorry, I should probably, but I've been busy. They've come out to say, and they have been accurate on things. We reported things on the news that they've said, and you know, they're reliable and they're fun and all that. And they're saying now that a studio in London has E&E Productions coming in, and that's Rian Johnson's trilogy. That is the first film of Rian Johnson's trilogy. This story, and I don't want to say any of these, you know, fellow podcasters or blogs or whatnot are incorrect, but this story it's a tougher pill for me to swallow. I'm totally cool if they are correct. You know, CNBC reported, and I talked about it on 1313 yesterday, that there would be no film in 2020. So this film could probably be ready for 2021 potentially. Benioff and Weiss, we don't know when their stuff's going to be done. So, well, I'll be honest. Excuse me. Wow. It's been a long weekend. Darth Ward came by to visit, and we watched Overlord last night. Not the best. Anyway, so it'd be cool. The problem is, yeah, that's a great story. It's a great topic point. It's a great conversation point for us, but we don't know anything about it. We know that it's a movie that takes place in the Star Wars universe, but in what regard to the Star Wars universe, how, it's confusing to me. We might not know until closer to the date. But apparently it's a trilogy, which again is, he said it from the start it was a trilogy. It's the Benioff and Weiss one that I think is strange that it's also a trilogy, because they never really announced that it was a trilogy until these rumors have been circulating. So the Rian Johnson one, you know, if you like The Last Jedi, if you hate The Last Jedi, and this trilogy happens, you gotta root for it, don't you? Like, don't you just have to root for it and hope that it is the best Star Wars story we're going to get? I have no idea what that Star Wars story is going to be. I feel like Rian Johnson has Star Wars story ideas somewhere within him that don't revolve around the characters that we all grew up with, that are super strong and smart. I love Looper. The world in which Looper is based around is something that I would totally be down for more. I would be down for checking out more of that world, the Looper world, and I think Rian Johnson has the capability of that. Now, whether or not he can translate that skill into a uniquely Rian Johnson Star Wars trilogy, you know, we haven't seen it yet. We don't know. It's yet to be seen. We'll figure it out. I think those whole thing, I also feel bad for him that if he's the first one out of the gate with the original trilogy idea, because, you know, Rogue One Sure, they're original characters, but you have Vader, you have Death Star, you've pretty much said. Solo. Well, we gotta get it. Mandalorian. Yeah, that's original, I guess, but it's kind of Boba Fett, I think. And then now you're gonna have this new trilogy by the guy that supposedly half the fandom hates, doing something completely different. That wasn't George Lucas's. It takes place in George Lucas's galaxy. To what extent, we don't know. Are there Jedi? Is there the Empire? We've had this conversation many times, Brock and I. What defines a Star Wars film? What is it about Star Wars that makes it a Star Wars and doesn't make it Wing Commander? That doesn't make it Alien? That doesn't make it Blade Runner? What is it? Is it the music? Is it the cinematography? Is it the wipes? Because the wipes, they're losing the wipes. They're losing it. TFA had barely any, and then Last Jedi had like 3 of them. They're losing the wipes fast. So what is it about Star Wars movies that make it Star Wars and doesn't make it another science fiction film? That's what we need to find out. And the first movie out of the gate that is either by Johnson or Benioff and Weiss, whoever it is, whoever makes this movie coming out, that's a tough spot to be in. Because they're kind of saying, like, this is what Star Wars is. Going forward, there'll be an element. Not everybody's just going to have the same feeling, but there'll be an element to what they have, and you're going to have to look at it and say, oh, okay, that's what Star Wars is. And I think it's a tough spot. And Rian Johnson, if it is his film and it's the first one out of the gate, whether he might not direct it, he might write it only, he might not even write it, he might just write the story. We don't know, but he's got some large tennis balls. Let's just say he's got some large tennis balls. All right, our last story is JJ Abrams, the writer-director of Star Wars Episode 9. Entertainment Tonight talked to him, and he said basically that he hopes that fans are satisfied. Gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm yawning like yawn today. We've been painting, and like I said, we watched Overlord last night, very late last night. It was like 4 hours long. Not really, it's not that long. So my thoughts in the comments are cool. You know, I hope he's right about people being satisfied with the movie. He said that they didn't really make changes based on The Last Jedi. They had an idea going into it. So that's telling me I don't think we're going to learn anything crazier about Rey's parents. It might be fleshed out more. You know, the thing is, if her parents were drunks, that doesn't mean that they were nobodies to us. They might have been nobodies to Kylo, but they could have been somebody to us. They could have been somebody in this universe that we were like, oh, okay, that's cool. That's a connection. Or maybe they are nobodies. And I think there are a lot of opportunities, I think, to make Rey a more interesting character, more compelling character. And her parents are the start of that in a lot of ways. But also, you know, if you're relying on her parents to make... If the reason a character is compelling is because of her parents, maybe the character's not that interesting. So there's more. I think, you know, there's more to Rey than what we've gotten. I think Daisy Ridley is going to knock this one out of the park. I think I've said this before. That first trailer, whenever it hits, whenever it drops, whether it's Celebration Chicago, whether it's right now while I'm recording this, whether it's tomorrow, whether it's any day of the coming weeks until Celebration, after Celebration, from now until December 20th, when that trailer drops, I will put money on this that there will be the fandom that loved The Last Jedi will be like, Star Wars is awesome. I love that trailer. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Then there will be the ones that did not like The Last Jedi that say, oh, okay, that was Star Wars. Star Wars is back. Thank you, JJ. Like that kind of like Star Wars is back mentality. And then there's going to be the ones that like really like the trailer, but they're not going to trust it because of The Last Jedi, because of how they felt about The Last Jedi. So those are the outcomes I'm seeing from this trailer. The title, I think they're smart. If they do the end game approach and they don't reveal the title till the end of the trailer, I think that is super smart. You wait, you got Celebration coming in just like a month now, 2 months, just over 2 months. Drop it all at once. Give it to us all, because the title's probably terrible. Look, Star Wars titles are generally terrible titles, like good terrible. I mean, like they're Attack of the Clones, Force Awakens, like they're kind of cheesy titles. So if you get like The Last Jedi is a cool title, Revenge of the Sith is a cool title, sure. Empire Strikes Back, that's a cool title because we've grown up with it. It's pretty cheesy when you think about it. So I think if they drop us a title and it's something cheesy, we're going to be like, oh, that's so cheesy. But if you give us a super dope trailer, then give us our cheesy Star Wars Episode 9, Balance of the Force, Duel of the Fates. Duel of the Fates is a cool title. But those kind of, whatever it ends up being, Mandalorians or Us, whatever it is, we will be more focused on the trailer than the title. There might be like, oh, the title, yeah. But did you see when? Yes, yeah. And Luke showed it, yeah. And Rey has a double-lighted lightsaber. Her staff is a lightsaber. Or like, no, there were no lightsabers in the trailer. Where are the lightsabers? Or Poe dies in the trailer. These little things that aren't going to happen. So that's how I feel about that. I think the problem with this trilogy was that JJ Abrams was hired to make one movie. Rian Johnson was hired to make a third, and Colin Trevorrow was hired to make, or Rian Johnson was hired to make a movie, and Colin Trevorrow was hired to make the third movie. And because of that, there was no complete through line. Somebody maybe should have just wrote a whole outline of all three of them and said, here you go, which may or may not have happened. I think JJ Abrams, I believe it was reported that he did it, but he never gave it to Johnson or something. But now JJ's back, and he can bring this home. And I think he has the best handle on Finn and Rey. I think he has a better handle on who those characters are than Rian Johnson. I think Rian Johnson respected Rey a lot, but I don't think he necessarily knew exactly what to do with her character growth-wise. Because, look, she does grow, but it's not... I didn't find it that compelling. I think JJ Abrams will have... I think we're going to get something special. I think this is going to be a special movie. And The Force Awakens is very low on my top 10 Star Wars list. Don't hate. I like them all, but I mean, you got to put one down there, and that's the one that I'll probably watch the least. But I think he has a handle on these new characters, which he created, and he should. And I think he respects the franchise, and I'm really hoping that he pays more attention to the prequels the way that Lucasfilm has been lately. I'm really shocked at how much prequel stuff we are getting. And I hope that continues because I love the prequels. It was never a thought like, oh, the prequels suck. I never really had that. It was kind of like, I always kind of enjoy them. I was disappointed by Attack of the Clones. I've said that numerous times on the podcast. The first time I saw Attack of the Clones, now that's the one that I probably watched the most. There's something about it that just feels super Star Wars to me. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't like the Droid Factory. I don't like the Droid Factory, so it's not all fuzzy peaches, but that's how I feel. Let me know what you guys think about J.J. Abrams' comments below. The Rian Johnson trilogy, is that recording already? It's kind of weird if they're gearing up. We haven't even heard that there's a script. He's kind of been quiet on it. He's doing this Knives Out or whatever film he's doing. Even if he's just producing that, you figure he'd want to have more of a hand in that because he's crafting this whole world. I can't see George Lucas being like, okay, we're going to make the prequel trilogy, but while, this guy's directing Phantom Menace, I'm going to go make Red Tails. I just can't see that happening. But, it's a different era. Maybe he'll be directing Knives Out with a tablet with the shots from the Star Wars films. I think Peter Jackson did that with Lord of the Rings. So maybe it's like that. We don't know. We'll find out. And then let me know what you guys think about the third proposed series for Disney Plus, the Star Wars one. They're coming out fast. If there's 3 of them already in development, we're gonna get the Mandalorian, and then we're gonna get like Cassian Andor, and then we're gonna get Obi-Wan Kenobi, all boom, boom, boom happening. That's kind of insanely awesome. Comment below, send me an email, rebelscumbags@gmail.com. Until next time, guys, thanks for watching, and may the force of others be with you.
Hey scumbags, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.